Open her bag. The order cracked across the glass ballroom. Mara Rivera stood beside the fallen champagne tower, her blue cleaning uniform soaked to the elbows, while 200 investors, executives, and honored guests turned to watch her be searched like a criminal. Vanessa Hale, the chief executive officer's fiancée, pressed one trembling hand to her throat. The tremble looked perfect, practiced. My grandmother's diamond brooch is missing, she whispered. The one with the Cole family crest. The one Adrian gave me tonight. A murmur spread through the room. Then Vanessa looked directly at Mara, and she was the only person near my table. Mara did not cry. She did not beg. She only looked once toward Adrian Cole, the young chief executive officer standing beneath the company's silver anniversary banner. 6 months ago, he had promised her that no one in this building would ever humiliate her again. Tonight, he said nothing. Security took Mara's bag from her shoulder and emptied it onto the marble floor. A spare pair of gloves, a half-eaten sandwich, a key card, a folded photograph of an older man in an engineer's coat. No brooch. For one breath, the ballroom went silent. Then every screen in the room flickered black. The anniversary presentation vanished. In its place, an old company archive window opened. File 69. Elias Rivera. Status: terminated. Authorized by Cole Industries Board. Mara's face went white, because Elias Rivera was her father, and he had been dead for 12 years. The first sound after the archive window appeared was not a scream. It was the sharp click of Vanessa's heel as she stepped back from Mara, as if the name on the screen had contaminated the air between them. Turn that off, now, Adrian said. His voice was quiet, but it carried. A technician near the stage fumbled with a tablet. Another man pulled the cable from the presentation console. Nothing changed. The black windows stayed frozen above the ballroom, enormous and cold, with Elias Rivera's name hanging over the company's silver anniversary, like a sentence no one had been prepared to hear. Mara could not look away. For 12 years, her father's name had lived in places small enough to hide. On the back of an old photograph, on a hospital bracelet kept in a kitchen drawer, on bills her mother had paid long after he was gone. She had never seen it inside Cole Industries. Not in a lobby directory, not in an employee archive, not in the engineering hall where old founders smiled from polished frames. Because Elias Rivera had been erased.
Who opened the
Miss
buried
Rivera,
file?
One of the guards said, gripping her elbow. She pulled free, not violently, only with enough force to remind him that she was still a person. That file, she whispered. Who opened it? Vanessa recovered first. The trembling hand lowered.
You know you
Her
touched
face
it.
changed from wounded
No,
to
I
offended
didn't.
so quickly that only
Then why
Mara
is it
saw the
broken?
seam. Is this some kind of stunt? Vanessa asked the guests. First my brooch disappears, and now a dead man's name appears on our screens? Mara turned toward her. I didn't touch the system. You had a key card, Vanessa snapped, for the service elevator, and a photograph ready to perform with. The words landed harder than the accusation. A few guests looked down at the items on the marble. The sandwich, the gloves,
Guards, remove
the
her from
cheap
the
key
premises.
card, and the photograph
Please, you
of
have
a
to
man
help
in a
me.
faded
Move
engineer's
along now,
coat,
miss.
his
No,
hand
wait, just
resting
look
on
at
the
this.
shoulder of a little girl who still believed adults told the truth. Adrian stepped forward at last. Enough. For half a second,
You are dismissing
Mara thought
me,
the promise from
removing
6
me from
months
my
ago
own
had
life.
returned to him.
This is not just
She
a room,
remembered
this
him
is where I
beside the loading
belong.
dock after a supervisor
be
had
here.
shouted at her for warning about a leaking chemical
We both
cabinet.
know what you're holding.
Adrian had dismissed the supervisor, taken
Ready
her
when you
statement
are,
himself,
sir.
and said, with the certainty of a man who had never paid for silence, "No one in this building will humiliate you again." Now he looked at the guards, not
Keep
at
them
Vanessa.
contained.
Clear the floor.
Yes, I
Take Miss
understand.
Rivera to conference room 3 until security
Good.
understands what happened. Mara's chest tightened. Take me? It's temporary. That's what people say when they want the poor person out of the room. A ripple moved through the crowd. Adrian's jaw hardened, not from cruelty, but from the discomfort of being seen too clearly. Marcus Vale, the oldest board advisor in the room, appeared beside him like a shadow that had been waiting for permission. His silver hair was combed back, his tuxedo untouched by the chaos. He looked at the frozen archive window, then at Mara, and his expression did not change. That frightened her more than Vanessa's anger. Adrian, Marcus said softly, this is a corporate security matter now. We should shut down the gala, isolate the employee, and prevent
The engineer's
speculation.
location is
Employee,
secure.
not
There is
woman,
nothing further
not
to
victim.
discuss.
not the person who had just been searched without cause. Mara bent to gather her things. When her fingers touched the photograph, she saw a smear of champagne on her father's face. She wiped it with her sleeve. The motion was small, but it steadied her. On the screen, the technician finally forced the archive window closed. The silver anniversary video returned, bright and cheerful, as if nothing had happened. A narrator praised 3 decades of innovation, integrity, and trust. No one moved. Then someone near the investor tables asked, "Who was Elias Rivera?" Marcus answered too quickly. "A former contractor, long before Adrian's tenure. Irrelevant to tonight." Mara looked up. Former contractor. Her father had worn a Cole badge for 11 years. He had missed birthdays for emergency tests and come home with burns from prototype batteries. He had not been a contractor. And Marcus Vale had known exactly what to call him. Adrian heard the lie too. Mara saw it in the brief turn of his head, but he still said nothing. Vanessa pointed at the photograph. "Why would she carry that here unless she planned this?" "Because it's all I have left of him," Mara said. Her voice was low. It did not need to be louder. The ballroom quieted again, but this silence was different, less hungry, less certain. Adrian finally looked at her. "Mara, if your father worked here, I'll find out why his file appeared. But right now, I need you to cooperate." She almost laughed. Cooperate was another polished word. It meant walk quietly, sit where they put you. Answer questions asked by people who had already decided what kind of woman carried a half-eaten sandwich in her work bag. A guard reached for her bag again. "No," Mara said. The word surprised even her. Mara slipped the photograph into her palm and turned it over. Her father's handwriting was still there, pressed into the paper with the heavy strokes of a dying man who had run out of time. "Find file 69 before you trust anyone named Cole." Mara closed her fingers around the photograph. Then she looked past Vanessa, past Marcus, and finally at Adrian. "You want to know who opened that file?" she said. "Start by asking why your board authorized my father's termination after he was already dead." For the first time that night, Adrian Cole looked less like a chief executive officer and more like a son who had just heard the walls of his own house crack. Conference room 3 had no windows. That was the first thing Mara noticed when the guard led her inside. Not the long table, not the pitcher of untouched water, not the framed photograph of Cole Industries' first manufacturing plant hanging on the wall. The room had no windows, as if it had been designed for conversations no one wanted seen from the outside. The guard closed the door behind her but did not lock it. That detail mattered. Mara sat down with her bag on her lap, both hands wrapped around the old photograph. She could still feel the champagne dampness on the paper. Her father's face looked blurred now, not because of time, but because too many people had tried to make her doubt what she remembered. Beyond the wall, the gala was being dismantled in hurried silence. Staff rolled away broken glass. Technicians folded black cables beneath a banner that read, "Cole Industries, 25 years of saving lives." Mara had cleaned under that slogan for almost 2 years. Cole Industries was more than marble and logos. It was a medical technology empire. Infusion systems, surgical monitors, emergency diagnostic devices, hospital software. Its products entered rooms where families prayed and doctors made impossible decisions. A mistake here did not stay inside a spreadsheet. A mistake here could touch a vein. That was why Elias Rivera had once believed in the company. The door opened. Adrian entered first, jacket unbuttoned, tie loosened just enough to show that the night had cracked his composure. Behind him came Marcus Vale with a leather folder under one arm. Vanessa appeared last, wrapped in a pale silk shawl someone had placed over her shoulders, as if she were the injured party. No one asked Mara if she wanted water. Adrian remained standing. "Security is checking the presentation system." "Then ask them who opened the file," Mara said. "They are." Marcus set his folder on the table. "With respect, Miss Rivera, we are trying to determine whether the file appeared because of an internal error, an unauthorized access attempt, or an external breach." "External breach?" Mara repeated. "You think I hacked a founder archive from a mop closet?" Vanessa exhaled sharply. "You had a key card." Mara placed it on the table. The plastic card looked pathetic beneath the ceiling lights. A corner had cracked weeks ago. The printed name was smudged from sanitizer. "That opens laundry storage, supply rooms, service elevators, and the basement compactor," Mara said. "Not your ballroom screens, not your archive, not whatever you call a file you buried for 12 years. Adrian looked at the card. "25 years," he said. Mara frowned. "The anniversary," he said. "Cole Industries is 25 years old." Marcus's fingers tightened almost invisibly around the folder. Mara noticed. Adrian noticed her noticing. A knock came before anyone spoke again. A young security analyst stepped in with a tablet pressed against his chest. His badge read N. Patel. He looked too nervous to be part of a conspiracy and too honest to enjoy the room. "Mr. Cole," he said, "we pulled the preliminary access trail." Marcus turned. "Preliminary is not useful in front of non-cleared personnel." Adrian did not look away from Patel. "Say it." Patel swallowed. The archive window was not triggered from the presentation console. It came from the founder authentication layer. Vanessa frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," Patel said carefully, "the system accepted an old credential. Not a password. Not a current employee login. A physical authentication token." The room changed. Marcus went still. Adrian's eyes moved. The diamond brooch was not there. Of course it was not there. That was why Mara had been searched. But Mara remembered how Vanessa had touched the empty place at her collar when she accused her. Too dramatic, too precise. The way someone points to an absence they created. "What kind of physical token?" Adrian asked. Patel tapped the screen. The old founder system supported embedded NFC chips in executive insignia, mostly ceremonial pieces, rings, cufflinks, lapel pins. "I've only seen references in archived manuals." "Jewelry," Mara said. No one answered. Vanessa's face hardened. "This is absurd." Marcus stepped in smoothly. "Many antique items in the Cole estate carry ceremonial identifiers. That does not prove the brooch was used tonight. It proves her keycard didn't open." "File 69, Mara said. Marcus looked at her for the first time as if she had become inconvenient. Patel glanced at Mara, surprised. The archive label did show File 69 in the back-end cache. Adrian's expression changed. "You saw it?" "Yes, sir. Only for a few seconds." File 69 was flagged restricted, then the path collapsed. "It's not in the normal dashboard." "Where is it?" Patel hesitated. "Cold archive." Marcus closed the folder. "That system was decommissioned years ago," he said. Patel shook his head. "Not fully. Some legacy records were kept offline after the audit migration. The index still exists, but the data path requires board-level clearance." Board level. Mara looked at the old manufacturing plant photograph on the wall. The men in the picture smiled beside a ribbon-cutting ceremony, proud of the machines behind them. Her father was not in the frame. But if File 69 had required board-level clearance, then someone powerful had not simply forgotten Elias Rivera. Someone powerful had locked him away. Adrian placed both hands on the chair back. "Who used the token?" Patel's discomfort deepened. "The access log is corrupted." Vanessa gave a small laugh. "Convenient." Mara looked at her. "Yes. Very." Adrian's gaze snapped between them. "Enough." Patel continued quickly. "But there's a proximity marker. The token pinged within 3 meters of the stage, near the center floral table." Mara remembered that table. Vanessa's table. The one with the white orchids, the silver place cards, the untouched champagne glass, and the empty velvet box where the brooch had supposedly been kept. Adrian remembered too. His face did not accuse Vanessa, not yet. But something inside his silence shifted. Marcus moved beside him. "Adrian, this is exactly why we must contain the situation. If investors hear that a restricted archive opened during the anniversary gala, the market will punish uncertainty before truth has time to breathe." "There was a dead man's name on our screen," Mara said. "Maybe uncertainty is the only honest thing in this building." Vanessa leaned forward. "You speak as if you came here looking for that name." Mara did not deny it. That was her mistake, or maybe her first honest choice of the night. Adrian saw the pause. "You knew File 69 existed," he said. "I knew my father believed it existed. Why didn't you tell me 6 months ago?" "Because 6 months ago, I didn't know whether you were a decent man or just a polite Cole." The words struck him harder than she expected. Marcus broke the silence. "Mr. Cole, I recommend we suspend Miss Rivera pending a formal inquiry. Her motive is now clear." Mara stood. "My motive is my father's name." "And that," Marcus said, "is exactly the problem." Adrian did not immediately agree. He looked at Mara's cracked keycard, at the photograph in her hand, at Vanessa's bare collar, then at Patel's tablet. Secure every log from tonight, he said. Presentation system, founder authentication, access doors, cameras, badge pings. No deletions, no exceptions. Marcus's mouth tightened. Adrian. No exceptions, Adrian repeated. For the first time since the ballroom, Mara saw Vanessa lose control of her breathing. Only once. Only for a second. But it was enough. Because whatever File 69 was, someone in that room had expected Mara to be searched. No one had expected the building itself to answer back. The security operations room was 2 floors below the ballroom, hidden behind a gray door that most guests would have mistaken for an electrical closet. Inside, the air was colder than the conference room. 6 monitors showed different parts of the building. Elevators, delivery bays, silent corridors, the ballroom now stripped of flowers and broken glass. On the largest screen, lines of system data scrolled in white and green. Mara stood near the door with a guard beside her, not quite a prisoner, not quite free. Adrian had allowed her to come only after Patel admitted that her service key card could not have opened the archive. Marcus objected. Vanessa said nothing, which worried Mara more. People like Vanessa only went quiet when they were choosing where to place the next knife. Patel sat at the main console, typing carefully. The access trail is damaged between 9:17 and 9:19, he said. That's when the archive window appeared on the ballroom screens. Damaged how? Adrian asked. Timestamp gaps, repeated checksum errors, then a forced path collapse. Marcus folded his arms. In plain English, Patel rubbed the back of his neck. Someone opened the archive, then the system lost the clean record of who opened it. Vanessa let out a soft laugh. So we know nothing. Mara stepped closer to the monitor. The guard shifted, ready to stop her. Adrian raised one hand. Not permission exactly. Restraint. Mara leaned toward the screen. The code was old, ugly, and familiar in a way that made her stomach tighten. Most people saw random numbers. She saw habits, old architecture, a company that had built new glass walls over machinery it never fully removed. Scroll back, she said. Patel turned. Excuse me? 3 lines before the checksum error. Marcus's face hardened. Miss Rivera, this is not an employee training room. No, Mara said. It's a room full of people missing the thing right in front of them. Vanessa's voice sharpened. Cleaners don't read system logs. Mara did not look at her. My father did. The words landed quietly. Patel hesitated, then scrolled back. Mara pointed to a short code buried near the left margin. There, FDR Auth Legacy. Patel frowned. Founder Authentication Legacy. That's the system that accepted the token, Adrian said. No, Mara said. That's what woke it up. But this line is the handoff. She pointed again. Bypass display route. That means the archive didn't open directly on the ballroom screens. It was pushed through the anniversary presentation layer. Patel leaned in. Mara continued before fear could catch her. Someone used the founder token near the stage. The archive responded. Then someone routed the file through the gala presentation system so everyone would see it. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. That sounds like exactly what you would do if you wanted a scene. Mara finally looked at her. If I wanted a scene, I would have waited until after they found your brooch. A thin silence followed. Adrian turned to Patel. Can she be right? Patel's fingers moved across the keyboard. He opened a second window, then a third. The presentation layer did receive an external archive push at 9:18. Not from the main console, from a local relay. Where? Adrian asked. Patel pulled up the ballroom floor map. Small blue dots appeared across the layout. Signal triangulation is rough, but the relay originated within this zone. A pale circle formed around the center floral table. Vanessa's table. No one said her name. That made the accusation louder. Vanessa stepped forward. This is disgusting. I was sitting there because Adrian seated me there. Half the board walked by that table tonight. Then half the board should be checked, Mara said. Marcus moved fast. Enough. Mr. Cole, this is becoming reckless. A cleaner with a personal grievance is now directing a corporate security review. Patel looked at the floor. Mara saw it then. The pressure. Not dramatic, not loud, just the familiar pressure that made honest people become quiet people. She reached past Patel and tapped the lower corner of the screen. Open the device handshake. Patel blinked. I can't without admin, Adrian said. Use mine. Marcus turned sharply. Adrian. But Adrian had already stepped beside Patel and entered his executive override. A new pane opened. At first, it seemed useless. Device ID, signal strength, token class, routing status. Then Mara saw the line she needed. Token class, Heirloom Crest, serial, HC09 Cole. The room went still. Adrian read it once. Then again. Heirloom Crest, he said. Mara looked at Vanessa's empty collar. The brooch, Patel whispered. Vanessa's face flushed. That proves nothing. It was stolen. No, Mara said. It proves the brooch was close enough to the stage to open the founder layer after you said it was already missing. Vanessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time that night, Adrian looked at his fiancée as if he did not recognize the shape of her silence. Marcus recovered for her. Or, he said, whoever stole the brooch used it before disposing of it. Miss Rivera had opportunity. Mara reached into her bag and pulled out the cracked key card. She placed it beside the keyboard. Then check my route. Patel glanced at Adrian. Adrian nodded. Badge records loaded. Basement supply. Service elevator B. Ballroom service entrance. South corridor. No stage. No center floral table. No executive relay range. Mara felt no triumph. Only the bitter exhaustion of proving she had not done something no one should have accused her of in the first place. Patel looked up. Her card never entered the token range. Vanessa whispered, she could have passed it to someone. Mara laughed once. It was small and empty. First, I'm too invisible to stand near your table. Now I have accomplices in your boardroom? Adrian shut his eyes for a second. When he opened them, his voice was lower. Vanessa, where is the brooch? I told you. It's missing. Where did you last have it? At my table. At the table where the token activated? Her face changed, just slightly. Enough for Mara to see the practice tremble, trying to return and failing to find its rhythm. Marcus stepped between them. Adrian, do not turn a theft investigation into a public accusation against your fiancé. The board will not support that kind of instability. Mara caught the phrase. The board will not support. Not truth, not evidence, support. Adrian heard it too, but he was still Adrian Cole, chief executive officer first, son of the family second, man last. He turned to Mara. You've proven your card didn't trigger the archive. I proved more than that. You proved enough for tonight. Mara stared at him. Enough for whom? For me to continue this properly. Properly means privately. It means legally. It means slowly. Adrian stepped closer. Mara, if File 69 is real, and if it involves a board authorization, we cannot treat it like a hallway rumor. My father treated it like a warning, she said. And he died with everyone calling him a liar. For a moment, the monitors hummed louder than anyone's breathing. Then Patel spoke, almost reluctantly. There's one more thing. Everyone turned. He pointed to the device handshake screen. The token did not just open File 69. It searched for a folder name before the display push. Adrian read the line. Query. Rivera objection. Mara's hand closed around the edge of the console. Her father's last name had not appeared by accident. Someone had come to that gala looking for his objection before the building showed it to everyone. Adrian looked at Mara, then at Marcus, then back at the screen. Lock this room, he said. No one touches these logs. Marcus's expression went flat. Mara had seen men get angry before. This was not anger. This was calculation, and it told her that File 69 had not only survived, it had made someone afraid. Adrian did not send Mara back to conference room 3. He led her through the service corridor behind the security operations room, past stacked banquet chairs and crates of unopened champagne, until they reached a quiet maintenance alcove where the walls smelled faintly of dust and machine oil. It was the first place in the building that did not try to look expensive. Mara stood beside a metal workbench, still holding her father's photograph. Adrian stood across from her with his phone in one hand and the expression of a man who had just realized his company had more locked doors than he had keys. How did you know what that log meant? He asked. Mara almost said nothing. Silence had protected her for years. Silence had kept her employed, kept her mother's rent paid, kept supervisors from learning that the cleaner on the night shift could read engineering diagrams better than some interns. But silence had also buried her father. So she turned the photograph toward him. The picture showed Elias Rivera in a gray work coat, smiling tiredly beside a cluttered garage table. A small girl sat beside him with a flashlight in both hands. Behind them was an infusion unit with its outer shell removed, wires exposed like veins. "I learned before I knew it had a name," Mara said. She could still hear the old garage when she closed her eyes. The radio playing low because her mother worked early mornings. Rain tapping the metal fire escape outside their apartment. Her father sitting under a yellow lamp with hospital devices spread open in front of him. Not because he stole them, but because hospitals returned defective demo units to Cole for study, and Elias brought home the ones no one else wanted to understand. He never let Mara touch the live circuits, but he let her watch. "Machines don't lie, Mari," he would say, guiding her finger along printed serial numbers. "They repeat what they were built to do. People are the ones who edit the story after." At 8, she learned that a serial number could tell you which batch a device came from. At 9, she learned that error codes had families, like people. At 10, she learned that a missing timestamp was rarely missing by accident. By 12, she had watched her father lose everything. He was a safety engineer, Mara said, not a contractor. Adrian looked down. That's what Marcus called him. Marcus lied. The words sounded dangerous in the narrow alcove. Mara tapped the edge of the photograph. "My father worked here 11 years. Senior Product Safety, Infusion Control Systems. He was assigned to a device called the Vantaflow C9. Adrian's head lifted. He knew the name, not personally maybe, but the way heirs know the names carved into old foundations. That product was discontinued before I joined. It was buried before you joined." Adrian said nothing. Mara continued. "The C9 had a dose drift problem. Under certain electromagnetic conditions, the pump could increase flow rate in tiny increments, not enough to trigger a standard alarm, enough to harm a child, an elderly patient, anyone on a narrow dose range." Adrian's face tightened. That would have required a recall. "My father requested one." She remembered the night he came home with his shirt collar twisted, his eyes red not from tears, but from staying awake too long. He placed 3 folders on the kitchen table and told her mother, Lucia, that he had filed a formal objection, not a complaint, not a memo, an objection, the kind that could not be ignored unless someone made it disappear. 2 weeks later, the objection was gone. A new report appeared with Elias Rivera's signature approving the same batch he had flagged. Then came the accusation: altered test data, hidden payments from a competitor, deliberate sabotage. The company did not simply fire him. It made sure no hospital, no manufacturer, no lab would ever hire him again. "My mother sold her wedding ring for his first lawyer," Mara said. The second lawyer stopped answering after Cole's attorneys filed 3 motions in 1 week. By the end, people crossed the street when they saw him. Adrian's hand closed around his phone. "Mara, don't use that voice." He stopped. She was grateful for that. Pity had a sound. She had spent half her life learning to leave rooms before people used it. "My father kept saying the proof was still inside Cole," she said. "He said the original objection had been archived before they replaced it. File 69. Test cycle 69. Rivera objection." He said those words until people thought grief had made him repeat himself. "And after he died?" Mara looked at the floor. "After he died, the house became quiet in a way that no machine could explain. No late-night tools. No coffee gone cold beside schematics. No father tapping twice on her door before entering because he believed even children deserved privacy. Only bills, boxes, her mother folding his work coat and putting it away like a body could be survived by organizing fabric. When he was already sick, he wrote the note on the back of that photograph," Mara said. "Find file 69 before you trust anyone named Cole." Adrian flinched slightly. Good, Mara thought. Some words should leave marks. "Then why work here?" he asked. "Why come into this building every night if you believed we destroyed him?" "Because cleaners see what executives throw away." She looked past him toward the service corridor. "No one watches the person emptying trash after midnight. No one lowers their voice for a woman pushing a cart. I have cleaned outside boardrooms, labs, archive doors, legal offices. I've found shredded drafts, changed floor plans, old badge lists, small things. And you never found file 69. No, but I found where it wasn't. That matters too." Adrian turned the photograph gently in his hands. For a moment, she allowed him to see it. The back, the note, the heavy pressure of her father's handwriting. Near the corner, beneath the warning, Elias had written a smaller line almost hidden by age. C9. Cycle 69. Board packet. Adrian read it twice. Board packet, he said. Yes. That means it went to directors. Before they called him a fraud. The corridor outside gave a soft mechanical click. Both of them turned. At the far end, Marcus Vale stood beside the security door. He was too far away to have heard everything, but close enough to see the photograph in Adrian's hand. His eyes moved from the picture to Mara, then to Adrian, and for the first time, the old advisor did not look calm. He looked interrupted. Adrian slipped the photograph back to Mara. When my father was alive, he said quietly, Marcus handled board archives. Mara folded the photograph against her chest. There it was, not proof, not yet, but a door, a real one. And when my father died, she said, someone used the board's name to terminate a man who could no longer defend himself. Adrian stared down the corridor where Marcus had disappeared. The building hummed around them, bright and polished above, old and breathing underneath. Mara had entered Cole Industries to find a file. Now she understood she was standing inside the machine that had swallowed her father whole. Don Ernesto found them before Adrian found him. He waited at the end of the service corridor with a ring of brass keys in one hand. For 23 years, he had managed the hidden bones of Cole Industries, the groaning elevators, the sealed doors, the rooms executives forgot existed. Tonight, he looked at Mara first. You saw the name, he said. Mara held her father's photograph tighter. You knew him. Don Ernesto lowered his eyes. I knew the sound of him being taken away. Adrian stepped closer. Taken where? The old man turned toward the stairs. To a place your maps no longer show. He led them down 2 flights, past laundry carts and sealed event crates, into a concrete hallway beneath the executive wing. The marble and glass disappeared. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Each footstep sounded like something being hidden. At the end stood a narrow door marked mechanical access. Don Ernesto chose a key, paused, then chose another. The lock changed after the audit migration, he said. The frame did not. The door opened with a dry scrape. Inside was a forgotten storage corridor. Archive boxes, broken monitor stands, old carpets, and framed photographs wrapped in cloudy plastic. The air smelled of cardboard, dust, and old electricity. Don Ernesto switched on a hanging bulb. Against the far wall stood a large photograph in a cracked silver frame. It showed an engineering team around a prototype infusion unit. Most faces were clear. One space near the left had been smeared with a crude digital blur. Mara stopped. That's him. Adrian leaned closer. You can't see his face. I don't need to. She pointed to the cuff of the blurred figure. A tiny black patch showed near the sleeve. My mother sewed that after he burned his coat during a battery test. She only had black thread. Don Ernesto nodded. Mr. Rivera was the only engineer who helped the cleaning staff move crates after that photo. The others went upstairs for champagne. The sentence placed Elias back inside the company more firmly than any archive ever had. Adrian lifted the frame from the wall. On the backing, beneath a layer of dust, a faded label remained. ENG Safety, C9, Pre-launch, Archive Transfer, Board Review. Board Review, Mara read. Adrian's face tightened. Don Ernesto moved to a metal cabinet hidden behind a rolled carpet. After the night they took him, some records came down here. Not the official ones, the ones people wanted forgotten but feared destroying. He opened it. Inside were old binders and access ledgers bound with brittle rubber bands. Mara knelt immediately. C7 warranty returns. Vantaflow training. Hospital demo failures. C9. Adverse review. Her fingers stopped. The C9 binder was thinner than it should have been. Pages had been torn from the metal rings, leaving paper edges like broken teeth. Missing pages, Mara said, but not empty. In the back pocket, a folded routing sheet had fused to the cardboard from age and humidity. She eased it loose. Device, Vantaflow C9. Serial, VF C9 1742. Event, uncommanded flow variance. Reviewer assigned, E. Rivera. Adrian read the phrase slowly. Uncommanded flow variance. Dose drift, Mara said. The polite version. She pointed to the serial number. This wasn't a random unit. VF C9 1742 came from a hospital return batch. If my father reviewed it, the defect reached patients before the company admitted anything. Adrian stared at the paper as if it had gained weight in his hands. Don Ernesto crossed himself. Mara looked at him. You know St. Brigid? The old man did not answer at once. He pulled a smaller envelope from between two facility manuals and handed it to Adrian. I kept this because I was a coward, he said, and because cowards sometimes keep things to pretend they may become brave later. Inside was a photocopy of a visitor log from 12 years earlier. 2 entries remained clear. Elias Rivera, safety escalation, Marcus Vale. Board archive, time, 11:42 at night. Beside Elias's name, someone had written, escorted out. Mara's throat closed. Don Ernesto spoke softly. I saw him leave the board archive with a folder under his coat. Security stopped him before the elevators. He kept saying, check the board authorization. They changed the packet. Adrian looked up. Why didn't you report it? To whom? Don Ernesto asked. The man giving orders was Marcus Vale. The hanging bulb buzzed. Mara turned another page. Near the torn section, one coffee-stained memo remained. At the bottom was a copied signature, Elias Rivera. But the hand was wrong. Her father pressed hard on the R. He never lifted the pen before the final A. This signature did. It's not his, Mara said. Adrian leaned in. How do you know? She turned over the photograph. Her father's last note stared back at them. Find file 69 before you trust anyone named Cole. Because this is his hand when he was dying, she said. And it has more life than that signature. Adrian did not argue. That mattered. For the first time since the ballroom, he did not ask Mara to calm down. He did not ask for time. He simply looked at the false signature, the visitor log, and the torn binder, as if 3 pieces of his family's polished history no longer fit together. Mara watched him carefully. She did not need him to become a hero. Not yet. She only needed him to stop defending the locked door before seeing what stood behind it. Then something scraped in the corridor. Don Ernesto moved first. He killed the bulb and pulled them behind a row of shelves. Through the gap between archive boxes, Mara saw a phone light slide across the floor. A gloved hand entered, holding a small black tool case. The intruder did not search randomly. He went straight to the metal cabinet, straight to the C9 shelf, straight to the empty place where the binder had been. He froze, then whispered into his phone. It's gone. Someone got to the Rivera material first. The voice was low, but the panic inside it was real. Then he left. No threat. No dramatic warning. Just proof. File 69 was not only real, someone was still hunting it. And if someone was hunting it tonight, then Marcus Vale had not buried the past. He had only been guarding its grave. By morning, Mara's humiliation had been edited into a cleaner story, not a truer one. A 38-second clip appeared first on the company's private employee feed. Then someone leaked it to a business gossip account that specialized in rich people's scandals and poor people's mistakes. The clip began with Vanessa's shaking voice. My grandmother's diamond brooch is missing. Then it cut to Mara standing beside the fallen champagne tower, wet uniform, silent face, security emptying her bag onto the marble floor. It showed the photograph. It showed the key card. It showed 2 investors stepping back as if poverty could spread by contact. It did not show the empty result. It did not show no brooch. It did not show file 69. By 9 in the morning, the caption had already done its work. Cleaner disrupts coal industry's anniversary gala amid theft investigation. Mara saw it on a breakroom television, while 2 junior lab assistants pretended not to recognize her. She had changed into a fresh uniform, but the video made her feel wet again. One assistant whispered, "That's her." The other whispered back, "Don't." Mara turned off the television. Her hand did not shake until she reached the supply closet. There, between shelves of gloves and disinfectant bottles, she allowed herself one breath. Only one. Then she folded a stack of trash liners, because ordinary movements had saved her more than panic ever had. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Leave with what dignity you have left. No signature. She deleted it. When she stepped into the corridor, Vanessa was waiting near the executive elevators with 2 women from public relations and a face arranged for pity. Mara, Vanessa said softly, making sure the PR women heard the gentleness. I asked them not to fire you immediately. Mara stopped walking. You leaked the clip. Vanessa's eyes widened. Perfectly. Practiced. How cruel of you to say that after what happened to me. What happened to you? My family heirloom was stolen. My engagement night was ruined. and now you're turning my pain into some investigation about your father. Mara looked at the elevator doors. Their polished surface reflected both women. Vanessa in ivory silk, Mara in blue cotton with a supply cart behind her. I didn't need to ruin your night, Mara said. You built it that way. Vanessa's smile disappeared for half a second. Then the elevator opened, and Marcus Vale stepped out carrying a sealed brown folder. Miss Rivera, he said, Mr. Cole would like you in Board Conference B. Board Conference B was not where employees were comforted. It was where decisions arrived, already dressed as procedures. Adrian sat at the head of the table. Patel stood near the wall with a laptop, visibly exhausted. Don Ernesto was not there. Neither was any lawyer on Mara's side. Marcus placed the brown folder before Adrian, not Mara. We completed a preliminary historical review, Marcus said. The Rivera matter is regrettable, but not mysterious. Adrian did not open the folder at once. Explain. Marcus did. Elias Rivera, Senior Safety Engineer. Terminated for data manipulation. Internal findings supported by payment records from a competing manufacturer. Legal exposure settled quietly after his death. No criminal referral due to compassionate considerations for the family. Every phrase was smooth enough to hide a blade. Mara stood without sitting. Payment records? Marcus opened the folder and slid a photocopy across the table. It showed a transfer receipt, $25,000, a company name Mara did not recognize. Beneath it was a signature, Elias Rivera. Adrian looked at the paper, and Mara saw the old machine begin working inside him. Risk, board pressure, investor reaction, family name. This is fake, she said. Marcus did not raise his voice. That was also your father's defense. The sentence struck harder because it sounded patient. Vanessa sat down at Adrian's right side. She should not have been there. That told Mara everything. She came here with a motive, Vanessa said. She carried his photograph. She knew the file number. She had a personal vendetta against your family. My father had a warning, Mara said. Marcus turned a page. A warning written by a disgraced man suffering late-stage illness, according to medical notes. Mara's stomach went cold. You have his medical notes? Cole Industries has records related to litigation exposure. No. You have pieces of a dying man and you're using them to make him sound unstable. Adrian finally looked up. Mara. She hated the softness in his voice. Don't, she said. Don't make your voice kind while your hands stay on their papers. The room froze. Patel glanced at Adrian, then down. Marcus took advantage of the silence. Mr. Cole, I recommend immediate suspension of Miss Rivera, pending legal review. She should surrender all company property, notes, copies, and photographs relevant to File 69. My photograph is not company property, Mara said. If it contains confidential archive references, that is debatable. Adrian's jaw tightened. He did not like that. But he did not reject it either. Mara saw the hesitation, and something inside her stepped back from him. 6 months ago, he had promised no one would humiliate her again. Last night, he had failed by silence. This morning, he was failing with caution. Adrian, Vanessa said almost tenderly, if you let her keep driving this, she'll destroy your father's company over a dead man's bitterness. Mara looked at him. There it was. The choice, polished and placed neatly in front of him. Dead man's bitterness, or buried truth. Adrian stood. Mara, I'm not asking you to stop. I'm asking you to let my legal team handle this correctly. Your legal team works for the name on the building. They work for the company. And the company called my father a fraud. He flinched. Marcus slid a form across the table. Temporary confidentiality agreement. Standard and internal reviews. Mara read the first line. Unauthorized disclosure of archive materials, historical litigation documents, or board-level review items may result in civil action. She pushed it back. No. Mara, Adrian said. No, she repeated. My father signed 1 room's worth of paper, and every page became a wall around him. I won't build the same prison with my own hand. Vanessa leaned back, satisfied. Then she's choosing conflict. Mara picked up the photocopy of the alleged payment record, held it to the light, and noticed something small near the bottom, a project code printed under the transfer reference. V. N. T9R. Not C9. Not the code from her father's era. A later system. She said nothing. Not because she was afraid. Because for the first time that morning, Marcus had handed her something useful. She placed the paper back on the table and turned toward the door. "Suspend me if you want," she said. "But don't call this an investigation when the accused has already written the questions." Adrian did not stop her. That hurt more than if he had. Behind her, Marcus spoke calmly. "Deactivate her badge." The lock on the boardroom door clicked red before Mara reached the hallway. The red light on the boardroom door blinked twice before it turned green. Adrian had overridden the lock himself. Mara did not thank him. She stepped into the hallway with the photocopy of the payment record folded inside her sleeve, hidden against her wrist. Marcus had given her a weapon by accident. She did not know yet where to aim it, but she knew enough not to hand it back. Adrian followed her past the glass wall of the executive floor. "Mara." She kept walking. "Mara, stop." She stopped near the service elevator, not because he ordered it, but because she was tired of men making her run through buildings where her father's name had been dragged before hers. Adrian lowered his voice. "You cannot walk out with internal material." "I walked in with a father," she said. "Your company turned him into internal material." His face tightened. "That is not fair." "No, it isn't." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Behind the glass, employees moved carefully, pretending not to look. News had already traveled through the building. Mara could feel it in the way conversations died when she passed. Last night, she had been a cleaner accused of stealing jewelry. This morning she had become something worse to them. A woman with a reason to tell the truth. Adrian stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "I'm trying to keep this from becoming a public fire." "That's what you call it?" "If File 69 involves the Vantaflow C9, this could affect hospitals, investors, active contracts, current safety reviews, patients." He stopped. Mara looked at him. "You listed everyone except patients." Adrian's jaw moved once, as if the word had struck a place he had left unguarded. "I care about patients." "Then why does your first instinct sound like a stockholder memo?" The elevator doors opened. Neither of them entered. Adrian looked away toward the city beyond the glass. His reflection stood beside hers. Custom suit, loosened tie, tired eyes. The building made him look powerful even when he was cornered. "My father built this company," he said. "My father tried to save it." "That may be true. Maybe. I need proof." "You have proof beginning to form in your hands, and every time it points somewhere ugly, someone asks me to be patient." Adrian's voice sharpened. "Because proof handled wrong can be destroyed in court. Proof handled by your lawyers can be buried in court." He took that in silence. Good, Mara thought. Let it hurt. Truth should not always arrive politely. Adrian reached inside his jacket and pulled out a folded document. Not the same agreement Marcus had offered. This one was shorter, printed on fresh letterhead. "What is that?" Mara asked. "A protective review agreement. Not an admission, not a gag order." She laughed once. "That sounds like a gag order that went to finishing school." "It protects you too." "No, it protects the room where you decide what I'm allowed to say." His patience broke for the first time. "You think I'm your enemy." "I think you're undecided." The words hit harder than anger. Adrian lowered the paper. "I stood up to Marcus in that room. You stood near me. That is not the same thing." He looked at the elevator floor. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its corporate polish. "Vanessa is my fiancée. Marcus was my father's closest advisor. Half the board trusts him more than they trust me. If I move too fast, they'll close ranks and destroy whatever is left." Mara studied him. There it was. Not cruelty. Fear wearing a responsible face. "My father moved carefully too," she said. "He filed the right objection. He followed the right channel. He trusted the right room. Then your board wrote a cleaner version of his life and locked the dirty one away." Adrian folded the agreement back into his pocket. "What do you want from me?" Mara almost answered. "Believe me." But that was not enough anymore. "I want access to the old server room." "No." The speed of his answer told her everything. "It still exists," she said. "Legacy infrastructure exists in every building this old." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Use a technical sentence to hide a moral answer." Adrian looked toward the security camera in the corner. Then he stepped closer and lowered his voice. "If there is still archived data, and you enter without clearance, Marcus will have exactly what he needs. He'll turn you from an accuser into a thief. He already did that last night. This time he'll have documents." Mara unfolded the photocopy from her sleeve just enough for him to see the project code at the bottom. VNT9R. Marcus's payment record is wrong, she said. This code didn't exist in my father's time. Adrian stared at it. Are you sure? No. The admission surprised him. Mara refolded the paper. But I know what wrong smells like. Give it to me. No. Mara. No, not yet. He looked genuinely wounded. That made it worse, because part of her wanted him to be simple. Cruel men were easy to refuse. Men trying and failing were harder. I can protect you, he said. You couldn't even protect me while everyone watched. The sentence landed between them and stayed there. Adrian did not defend himself. That was the first honest thing he had done all morning. The service elevator opened again. This time Mara stepped inside. Before the doors closed, he said, If you go after this alone, I may not be able to stop what they do to you. Mara held his gaze. My father went alone because no one stood beside him. I'm not repeating his mistake. I'm correcting yours. The doors slid shut. On the basement level, Don Ernesto was waiting beside the laundry carts. He did not ask what happened. He only held out a folded maintenance map and an old brass key. Your badge is dead, he said. This is not. Mara looked at the key. What does it open? The old man's face was pale but steady. A door the company forgot to put on the new security system. Mara took it. Above them, Cole Industries shone with glass, money, and carefully worded lies. Below it, behind a mechanical corridor and a lock older than Adrian's authority, the old server room was waiting. And if File 69 had ever been backed up, Mara knew one thing with certainty. The dead did not need permission to be heard. The living did. The old server room did not look important. That was what made it dangerous. It sat behind a rusted mechanical door, 2 corridors beneath the main lobby, past the laundry chute and the emergency generator cage. No glass wall, no biometric scanner, no polished sign with a department name. Only a brass lock, a metal handle, and a faded sticker that read, Data Migration. Do not enter. Don Ernesto's key turned on the second try. Inside, the air was dry and stale. Racks of dead equipment stood beneath a low ceiling, their indicator lights dark. Dust covered the floor except for a narrow path leading to the back wall. Someone had been here recently. Mara noticed, before Don Ernesto did. The dust had been broken by shoe marks, not old maintenance tracks. Thin, sharp soles, executive shoes or expensive boots, not workman's rubber. Don Ernesto saw her looking. We should go, he whispered. Not yet. Mara moved toward the final rack. Behind a plastic curtain, an old backup unit sat on a metal shelf, the kind her father had once called ugly but loyal. A label had yellowed across its front. LTO Archive Node 3. Pre-migration safety records. Her heartbeat changed. She touched the side panel. Warm. Not hot. Not active in the normal sense, but warm enough to mean someone had powered it recently. Beside the unit was a small maintenance monitor with a cracked screen. Mara pressed the old power button. The monitor flickered, went black, then returned with a text-only menu. Archive Node 3. Last session interrupted. Restore queue. 14%. Don Ernesto looked toward the door. Mara. She typed carefully. The system asked for an index path. Mara closed her eyes for 1 second, seeing her father's handwriting on the photograph. C9. Cycle 69. Board packet. She entered. C9. Cycle 69. Board. The monitor paused. Then, a folder list appeared. C9. Pre-launch. VF. C9. 1742. Board packet revision. Rivera objection. Settlement risk. Mara did not breathe. There it was. Not a rumor from a dying man. Not grief. Not obsession. A folder. A name. A fact. Before she could open it, the screen flashed red. Remote delete request received. Source. Admin legacy override. Confirmation pending. Don Ernesto stepped back. What does that mean? It means someone knows we're here. The delete timer appeared. 59 seconds. Mara's hands moved before fear could slow them. She searched the shelf, found the mounted tape cartridge, and read the handwritten label. Node 3 Safety Snapshot. Q4. Do not recycle. 43 seconds. She pulled open the drive latch. A warning screamed from the monitor. Unsafe eject may corrupt archive. Will it destroy it? Don Ernesto asked. It might. Then don't. If I leave it in, they will. 31 seconds. Mara removed the cartridge. The machine gave a hard mechanical click, like a bone leaving its socket. The screen froze at 22%. Then, the emergency lights turned red. For 1 second, only the alarm spoke. Then the door behind them burst open. Security flooded the room. "Step away from the equipment." Don Ernesto raised both hands. Mara did not. She held the tape cartridge against her chest with both palms, as if it were alive and could be injured by being seen. Vanessa entered behind the guards in a cream coat that did not belong underground. Marcus followed her. He looked, not surprised, but relieved. That told Mara everything. "You see?" Vanessa said, almost breathless. She broke in. Mara looked at Marcus. "You were deleting it." Marcus did not answer her. He addressed the guards. "Secure the stolen data cartridge." One guard reached for it. Mara stepped back. "This is evidence. This is proprietary company property," Marcus said, removed from a restricted archive by a suspended employee with a personal vendetta. Don Ernesto spoke sharply. She was stopping a deletion. Marcus turned to him with controlled disappointment. "Ernesto, at your age, I had hoped you would know better than to be used." The old man went pale, but he did not lower his hands. Then, Adrian arrived. He came down the corridor without a jacket, tie gone, expression raw from running. Patel was behind him, carrying a laptop. Adrian stopped at the door. His eyes found Mara first, then the tape in her hands, then the open server rack, then Marcus. "What happened?" Marcus answered before anyone else could. "Your suspended employee used an unauthorized physical key to enter a decommissioned server room and remove archived company data. We found her in possession of the cartridge." Mara turned to Adrian. They were deleting Rivera objection. Patel pushed forward. "There was a remote delete command. I saw a legacy admin ping when the alarm triggered." Marcus looked at him. "You saw an alert." "Not intent." Vanessa's voice cracked beautifully. "Adrian, please. First the brooch, now data theft. How much more does she have to do before you admit what this is?" Mara felt the trap closing. Not loudly. Not with shouting. With procedure. Unauthorized access. Removed cartridge. Suspended employee. Personal motive. Witnesses supplied by the people hunting the file. Adrian stepped toward her. "Mara, give me the tape." She held it tighter. "No." His face changed. Pain. Frustration. Fear. "If you hold it, they'll arrest you. If I give it to you, Marcus will bury it before sunrise. I won't let that happen. You don't know how to stop him." The sentence hit him in front of everyone. Marcus used the opening. "Mr. Cole, company policy is clear. Security must confiscate the cartridge and remove Miss Rivera from the premises." Don Ernesto said, "Adrian, listen to her." Vanessa whispered, "Listen to the law." Mara looked at Adrian and saw the same silence from the ballroom trying to return. This time, he fought it. But not fast enough. "Seal the cartridge," he said at last. "Chain of custody. Patel logs it. No one touches it without my written approval." Marcus's eyes narrowed. Mara heard the words and still felt the loss. Because Adrian had not believed Marcus completely. But he had not believed her enough. A guard took the tape from her hands. The cartridge disappeared into an evidence bag. Mara's palms felt suddenly empty, as if someone had removed the last warm thing in the room. Vanessa stepped closer. "You should have taken the settlement," she said softly. Mara looked at her. "You should have hidden the brooch better." For the first time, Vanessa's smile died in front of witnesses. Then security escorted Mara out through the basement corridor, past the laundry chute, past the generator cage, past the door the company had forgotten but Marcus had not. At the service exit, her badge was already dead. The guard opened the outer door. Cold morning air struck her face. Behind her, Cole Industries rose in clean glass above the city, shining as if it had never swallowed anyone. Mara stepped outside with nothing in her hands. No badge. New tape. No job. Only one stolen glance from Patel before the door closed. And in that glance, she understood something. The backup had not restored fully, but 22% of a buried truth was still more than Marcus wanted alive. By noon, Marcus Vale stopped defending the past. He attacked with it. The first article appeared under the headline, "Disgraced Engineer's Daughter Accused of Data Theft at Cole Industries." It used no direct quote from Marcus, no official accusation from Adrian, no statement from Vanessa. That made it worse. The story looked independent, which meant someone had fed it carefully and washed their fingerprints off before it went public. By 1 o'clock, Elias Rivera's name was everywhere Mara had spent 12 years trying to protect it from. A failed engineer, a suspected saboteur, a man accused of taking money from a rival manufacturer before altering safety data. Mara read the article from a bus stop 3 blocks away from Cole Industries. Her uniform was folded inside a plastic grocery bag at her feet. Without the badge, without the cart, without the building around her, she looked like any other woman waiting for a ride she could not afford to miss. Her phone buzzed again. This time the message was from Don Ernesto. They made me resign. I am sorry. Mara closed her eyes. She did not cry. Not because she was strong enough to avoid it, but because anger had taken up all the room. Another message arrived. Unknown number? Your father lied. Now you are doing the same. Attached was the payment record Marcus had shown in the boardroom. Someone had added red circles around the transfer amount and Elias's copied signature, as if truth could be created by drawing attention to a lie. Mara enlarged the image. There it was again. NT9R. Small. Almost meaningless. Unless you knew that Cole Industries loved renaming things after audits. Unless you had cleaned outside the product compliance office long enough to see old labels become new ones. Unless you had grown up with a father who taught you that machines had dates even when people tried to remove them. Vantaflow C9 belonged to her father's era. VNT9R did not. Mara stood from the bus stop bench and walked. Not toward home, toward the public library on Mercer Street. The library's computers were old, slow, and free. Mara took a corner station and searched archived medical device filings, product recall notices, investor presentations, anything with VNT9R. Most links were useless. Some were blocked. One investor PDF from 8 years earlier finally opened. There it was. VNT9R, Next Generation Infusion Platform, announced 2 years after Elias Rivera's death. Mara stared at the screen. The payment record was not just suspicious. It was impossible. Her father could not have signed a transfer linked to a project code that did not exist until after he was buried. She printed the page with money she should have saved for groceries. Then she opened the image again and saw one more detail. The receipt template carried a footer code. FINREV 2021. Her father died 12 years earlier. Marcus had not used an old record. He had built a new lie inside a modern form and trusted everyone to look only at the dead man's signature. Mara almost laughed. For the first time since the ballroom, the trap had a seam. Her phone rang. No caller ID. She answered without speaking. Mara, Adrian said. His voice sounded worse than hers. Where are you? You don't get to ask that before telling me what you did with the tape. A pause. Patel logged it into chain of custody. And Marcus? Locked out for now. For now, she repeated. I called because Marcus is pushing for a settlement. Mara looked at the library printer as it spat out the investor PDF line by line. What kind? Public statement clearing you of theft if you return all materials and agree not to discuss File 69 until an internal review concludes. She gripped the phone harder. An internal review led by the people who buried my father? I didn't say I accepted. You called me before rejecting it. That means part of you wanted me to make it easier. Silence. Then Adrian said quietly, Yes. The honest should have softened her. It did not. My father spent his last years begging people to read one file. Mara said. Do you understand that? Not believe him, not love him, just read it. And now you're asking me to wait for permission from the same machine that erased him. I'm trying to keep you out of jail. No. You're trying to keep the truth from arriving before your board is ready to survive it. Adrian breathed out. Behind him, faintly, Mara heard voices. A boardroom, papers, Marcus maybe, Vanessa, maybe, the company still moving around him like a cage made of polished decisions. Adrian, she said, look at the payment record. I have. No, look at the project code. Another pause. What project code? The NT9R. She heard him move. A chair scraped. Paper shifted. Then silence. Longer this time. That platform launched after Elias died, Adrian said. Yes. His voice changed. The footer. FINREV 2021. Yes. The line went so quiet that Mara could hear her own pulse. When Adrian spoke again, He no longer sounded like a chief executive officer managing risk. He sounded like a man finding blood on a family portrait. Marcus fabricated it. Or someone did for him. No, Adrian said. This came from the board archive packet he personally gave me. Mara folded the investor PDF. Then stop asking what your board will support. Before he could answer, another voice came through his line. Marcus. Adrian, the emergency product presentation begins in 40 minutes. Investors are waiting. Mara understood at once. The product presentation? Adrian swore under his breath. Marcus had chosen the timing well. In 40 minutes, Cole Industries would stand before investors, hospital buyers, and press to introduce its newest infusion platform. If Marcus publicly framed Mara and Elias as saboteurs there, the company could bury File 69 under the language of security, theft, and market stability. A lie told in front of cameras became harder to kill. Mara stood. Adrian, listen carefully. If Marcus uses that stage to close this, you may never open it again. I know. No, she said. You don't. He doesn't need to prove my father guilty. He only needs to make the truth look expensive. Another voice sounded on Adrian's side. Patel, lower and rushed. I recovered part of the snapshot. Mara froze. Adrian covered the phone, but not enough. Patel continued. Only 22%. But there's a video index and a board packet manifest. The Rivera objection folder is damaged, but not empty. Mara gripped the library desk. Adrian, I heard. No more private rooms. He did not answer. That was answer enough. Mara picked up her printed proof and left the library computer still glowing behind her. Outside, the afternoon had turned hard and bright. Cole Industries rose at the end of the avenue, its glass tower reflecting a sky without mercy. Her badge was dead. Her job was gone. Her father's name was being dragged through the news. But Marcus had made one mistake. He had rushed. And rushed lies, like rush signatures, always left pressure marks. Mara folded the investor PDF, placed it beside her father's photograph, and started walking back toward the building that had thrown her out. This time, she was not going to ask to be let in. This time, she was going to arrive where the cameras were already watching. The product hall at Cole Industries had been built for applause. 300 white chairs faced a glass stage. Behind it, a 20-foot screen displayed the new infusion platform in rotating silver light. Investors sat in the first rows. Hospital buyers sat behind them with tablets ready. A line of cameras waited along the sidewall, red recording lights blinking like patient monitors. Above the stage, the slogan glowed, "Precision that protects life." Mara reached the front entrance 11 minutes before Marcus Vale was scheduled to speak. Security stopped her at once. Badge. My badge is dead. Then you can't enter. She looked past him through the glass doors. Inside, Marcus stood near the stage with Adrian, one hand on his shoulder, speaking into his ear like a priest giving last instructions before a burial. Vanessa stood beside them in pale ivory, the empty place at her collar now covered by a silk scarf. Mara held up the printed investor filing. Then call Patel. The guard almost laughed. Then Patel appeared from the side corridor, pale, sweating, laptop under one arm. She's with me, he said. She's suspended. She's evidence. That startled even Mara. The guard hesitated just long enough for Patel to open the side door. Inside, the hall smelled of new carpet, perfume, and money, trying not to panic. Mara moved along the wall, not toward the front, but toward the technical booth. Patel walked beside her fast. I recovered only 22%, he whispered. But the manifest is enough. What about the tape? Still sealed. But Marcus tried to access the chain of custody cabinet 12 minutes ago. Mara looked at him. Patel swallowed. With a board override. On stage, Marcus stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience after last night's unfortunate security incident. The screen behind him changed from the product animation to a clean corporate statement. Internal security breach. Archive materials compromised. Public safety unaffected. Mara felt the room lean toward the lie. Marcus continued, calm and paternal. Cole Industries has always believed that trust requires discipline. Sadly, a former employee with a personal grievance attempted to misuse old, discredited materials connected to a terminated engineer. Adrian stood behind him, expression unreadable. Vanessa watched from the side of the stage. Marcus turned slightly, allowing the cameras to catch his profile. That engineer was Elias Rivera. Mara's body went cold. Not from fear. From recognition. This was the grave Marcus had guarded for 12 years. And now he was standing above it with a microphone. Before he could say more, Adrian stepped forward. Stop. The room shifted. Marcus turned, smile still in place. Adrian? Adrian took the podium microphone from him. For 1 second, he looked out at the investors, the hospital buyers, the cameras, the board members, the empire his father had left him. Then he looked at Mara, in the technical booth, and chose. This presentation is suspended, Adrian said. A wave of murmurs broke across the hall. Marcus lowered his voice, but the microphone caught enough of it. Do not do this here. Adrian did not move away. That is exactly what people said 12 years ago. Vanessa stepped forward quickly. Adrian, please. You're letting her manipulate you. Mara walked out of the booth. Every camera turned. The same feeling from the ballroom returned. Eyes on her uniform, on her cheap shoes, on the woman everyone had been taught to see as less than the room she stood in. This time, she did not look at the floor. Vanessa saw her and seized the moment. This woman broke into a server room, she said, voice shaking on command. She stole proprietary data after being caught near my missing brooch. How many times does she have to betray this family before you protect it? Mara stopped beside the first row. You mean this brooch? Patel clicked a key. On the screen, the product statement vanished. A technical record appeared. Token class, heirloom crest, serial, HC09 Cole. Proximity, center floral table. Query, Rivera objection. Time, 9:18 in the evening. The hall went silent. Vanessa's face drained. Mara turned toward the cameras. Last night, I was searched because Vanessa Hale said her brooch was missing. But the brooch was not missing when file 69 opened. It was active near her table. Marcus spoke sharply. That proves only that the stolen item was used. Patel clicked again. The screen changed. Chained access event. Token serial. HC09 Cole. Secondary device. V. Hale private phone. Bluetooth pair confirmed. Vanessa took one step back. Adrian stared at her. You paired the brooch to your phone? I didn't know. You had to know, Patel said, voice trembling but clear. The founder token requires a proximity pair confirmation for display routing. Someone accepted it from her phone. Mara looked at Vanessa. You didn't lose the brooch. You used it to open the archive, searched for Rivera objection, then accused me so security would empty my bag and take anything my father left me. Vanessa's practiced tremble finally broke into real panic. I was protecting Adrian. No, Mara said. You were protecting Marcus. The oldish advisor laughed once, softly. This is theater. Adrian turned to Patel. Show the payment record. Patel did. The screen displayed the document Marcus had used to condemn Elias Rivera. The transfer, the signature, the red circles, the project code. Marcus's face hardened. Adrian spoke now, not as a man defending a company, but as one exposing it. This record was provided to me this morning by Marcus Vale as proof that Elias Rivera accepted money from a competitor. He pointed to the bottom of the document. Project code, VNT9R. Footer, FIN, REV, 2021. Mara stepped closer to the stage. VNT9R was announced 2 years after my father died, she said. FIN REV 2021 is a finance template created years after that. My father could not have signed this record unless Marcus found a way to make the dead use future paperwork. A sound moved through the hall. Not applause, not outrage yet, but the sharp intake of people realizing they had just watched a document collapse. Marcus moved toward the podium. Forgery accusations require authenticated review. Patel clicked once more. This time, the screen showed a damaged file manifest from the recovered backup. Board packet revision. Rivera objection. V. F. C. 9. 1742 incident. Signature override log. M. Vale admin. The final line stayed highlighted. M. Vale admin. Marcus stopped walking. Adrian's voice lowered. Your legacy admin ID was tied to the override log. That ID was shared in early systems. Patel shook his head. Not for this packet. The partial snapshot includes a video index. The screen flickered, then played a damaged, grainy clip with no sound at first. An old board archive room appeared. A younger Marcus Vale stood beside a table, holding two folders. Across from him was Elias Rivera, thinner than in Mara's photograph, but unmistakable, pointing hard at a document. The sound crackled back for 8 seconds. Elias's voice filled the hall. "You changed the packet. My objection was in the board review. If that device reaches another hospital, blood is on this company." Then Marcus's younger voice, cold and clear. "Your objection no longer exists." The clip froze. Mara could not move. For 12 years, she had carried her father's voice in memory. Now the room had heard it. Marcus looked at the screen, then at the cameras, then at Adrian. The calculation in his face had nowhere left to go. Vanessa broke first. "He said it was just an old liability file," she cried. "He said if Mara found it, Adrian would lose everything. I only opened the archive because Marcus told me the brooch could access it." Marcus turned on her with a fury too quick to hide. "You foolish girl." Every microphone caught it. Adrian stepped away from both of them. Security entered from the side doors, but this time they did not move toward Mara. They moved toward Marcus. He lifted one hand. "Adrian, think carefully. If you expose this, the company survives by telling the truth," Adrian said, "or it does not deserve to survive." Mara looked at him then. Not forgiven. Not yet. But seen. Marcus was escorted from the stage. Vanessa stood alone, no tremble left, no silk scarf strong enough to cover what the room now knew. On the screen behind them, Elias Rivera's frozen face remained beside the words he had died trying to protect. Rivera objection. And for the first time in 12 years, no one in Cole Industries could close the file. The first apology did not come in a private office. Mara would not have accepted it there. 3 days after the product presentation stopped the company in its own tracks, Cole Industries called every employee into the main atrium. Not just executives, not just legal. Lab technicians, receptionists, warehouse workers, cleaners, cafeteria staff, security guards, interns with plastic badges still stiff around their necks. The same cameras that had recorded Marcus Vale's collapse now faced the people who had worked under the name he had helped stain. Adrian stood on the atrium steps without a script in his hand. That mattered to Mara. Scripps had defended the company for years. He looked tired, but not ruined. Ruin would have made him too easy to pity. What stood in front of them was harder. A powerful man forced to remain standing while admitting he had inherited a lie and protected it longer than he should have. Elias Rivera was not a saboteur, Adrian said. The atrium became so quiet Mara could hear the fountain behind the reception desk. He was a senior safety engineer who filed a formal objection to a product defect in the Vantaflow C9 platform. That objection was removed from the board packet. His signature was forged. His reputation was destroyed to protect this company from the cost of telling the truth. Mara stood near the back, not on the stage. Don Ernesto stood beside her, rehired that morning with his old brass keys still in his hand. Adrian continued. Cole Industries publicly clears the name of Elias Rivera. We are submitting the recovered materials to independent regulators, hospital partners, and the court. Marcus Vale has been removed from all positions. Vanessa Hale is no longer connected to this company, or to my family. He paused. Then he looked directly at Mara. And I owe Mara Rivera an apology no legal department can write for me. Every face turned toward her. This time, no one searched her. Adrian stepped down from the atrium stairs and crossed the floor until he stood several feet away, close enough to speak, far enough not to claim forgiveness. I promised you once that no one in this building would humiliate you again, he said. Then I watched it happen. I told myself silence was control. It was cowardice with better clothing. Mara did not smile. She did not need to. I can't give your father back, he said. But I can return what this company stole from his name. And I can make sure no employee, in any uniform, has to carry the truth alone again. For the first time, Mara answered him in front of everyone. Then don't make this about me. Adrian nodded. Then it begins with him. The second scene happened in the engineering hall. For years, the corridor had displayed photographs of Cole Industries' proudest teams. Founders, product launches, award ceremonies, board portraits, smiling men beside machines that had made them rich. Now one frame had been removed. Not replaced. Restored. Mara stood before the photograph from the forgotten storage corridor. The crude blur was gone. Elias Rivera's face had been reconstructed from the original print layers, and a family photograph Mara had carried in her bag the night everyone called her a thief. He stood beside the prototype infusion unit, one sleeve marked with the black patch Lucia Rivera had sewn by hand. Below the frame, a new plaque read, Elias Rivera, Senior Product Safety Engineer, Formal Objector, File 69, Restored to Record. Mara reached up and touched the glass. For years, her father had lived in her memory as a warning, a wound, a name people lowered their voices around. Now, his face stood in the building that had erased him. Not forgiven. Restored. Beside the photograph, Patel opened the archive display on a wall terminal. The old line appeared first. File 69. Elias Rivera. Status. Terminated. Then he entered the new authorization. The screen refreshed. File 69. Elias Rivera. Status. Restored. Rivera objection. Accepted into permanent record. Mara felt Don Ernesto's hand touch her shoulder. Just once. Not pity. Witness. Adrian stood a few steps behind her. He did not interrupt. He had learned, finally, that some rooms did not need his voice first. Mara looked at the restored photograph and whispered, "They read it, Papa." The third scene came 6 months later, in the same glass ballroom where it had begun. The fallen champagne tower was gone. So were the white orchids from Vanessa's table. The room had been rearranged for a different kind of ceremony. No investors in the front row, no engagement announcement hidden inside a corporate celebration, no expensive jewelry placed where a lie could use it. At the center of the stage stood a simple metal display case. Inside it lay 3 objects: the old brass key Don Ernesto had used to open the forgotten door, the damaged LTO tape cartridge that had saved 22% of the truth, and the diamond brooch with the Cole family crest, its hidden chip disabled, its beauty no longer able to disguise what it had done. Cole Industries had created an independent product integrity office after the investigation. Not a public relations committee, not a legal shield. A real office with authority to stop launches, escalate safety concerns, and protect whistleblowers from every level of the company. Mara had agreed to lead it on one condition. The first reporting channel would be open to every employee, cleaners included. When Adrian handed her the new badge, he did it in the ballroom, in front of the staff first. Not the board, not the press. The badge read, Mara Rivera, Director of Product Integrity. For a moment, Mara saw the marble floor as it had been that night. Her bag overturned, her sandwich exposed, her father's photograph lying under chandeliers, while rich people decided what kind of woman she was. Then she saw it as it was now. Don Ernesto applauding quietly, Patel grinning like he had just survived a war with spreadsheets, a young cleaner near the doorway standing a little taller as she read Mara's badge. Adrian did not ask for forgiveness. He had stopped treating forgiveness like a door his money could open. He only said, "Your office is ready." Mara looked at the badge, then at the display case, then at the restored name of her father glowing on the ballroom screen behind them. File 69. Restored. She clipped the badge to her jacket. Then she picked up the old brass key and placed it in the young cleaner's hand. "Keep this downstairs," Mara said. "Some doors only stay honest if people like us know they exist." The girl looked at the key as if it weighed more than metal. Mara turned toward the stage. 12 years earlier, Elias Rivera had died with a file no one would read. 6 months earlier, his daughter had been searched like a criminal beneath the same lights. Now, the room stood silent for a different reason. Not shame, respect. And when Mara walked across the ballroom, no one watched to see what she might steal. They watched because she had brought something back.